Well, back with us, Congressman Darrell Issa of California, the chairman of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. So be it. That's the phrase that so many Democrats are wearing on those buttons that Jenna referred to just a little bit ago. Some are describing this as a game of legislative chicken, except obviously it's not a game. It's a very serious business here. You've got 2 weeks to get a budget passed, and the House isn't even in session next week, right?
Oh, absolutely. The important thing to remember about John Boehner, Speaker Boehner's comment, he was talking about if by cutting government, some people in government lose their jobs, so be it. Well, we understand 85% or so of what government spends money on is people. So, of course, if you cut back on government, you're going to stop having government jobs. But John Boehner, like so many people here on Capitol Hill, realized that if you have less government workers and more private sector workers, the economy will recover. If it doesn't, this $1.6 trillion debt will, in fact, bankrupt this country, destroy the future for our children. And that's what Speaker Boehner cares about, is jobs for our children in the private sector, not current, very generous jobs for federal workers or, for that matter, lobbyists here in Washington.
The appetite for cutting seems to lie mostly among Republicans. If you listen to that soundbite from Democrat Congressman Chris Van Hollen just a moment ago. So if Republicans want to cut this $60 billion from the budget and they don't get any agreement from Democrats in the Senate, where does that leave you?
Well, we were elected on exactly that, on making the kinds of hard decisions the American people want us to make. You know, getting rid of the study on marijuana and malt liquor in combination seems like a small thing, but there are thousands of those. But more importantly, even the president's disingenuous statement that he's freezing federal pay while allowing these automatic step increases. You know, in the private sector, you don't get generous pay increases just because another year went by, and then cost of living on top of it. Guess what? They do, and it represents $500 million per year, plus obviously retirement benefits. And you mentioned earlier when you were talking to Stephen Moore about the private sector versus the public. Well, in what they're dealing with in Washington, we have to deal with. $8.5 billion in loss by the post office was all in those deferred benefits, the retirement health care and other plans. We've got to make sure that we put spending on the books and not simply kick it down the road with huge promises that down the road we're going to give with somebody else's money. That's where politicians have to pay it now, not owe it forward.
Well, the politics is going to be interesting over the next couple of weeks, and we're going to be watching it. Congressman Darrell Issa, Republican of California. Thank you.